Okay, welcome to TAO Talk, the weekly blockmate show recapping all the news in the Bittensor ecosystem. I'm your host, 563, joined always by my co-host, Brody from Onchain Outpost. How's it going, man?
I'm doing really well. I got my morning coffee in, and I'm ready to talk TAO. It's been a really great week. A lot of cool new subnets hitting mainnet this week, and dTAO incentivized testnet was interesting to say the least. A lot of conversation in the Discord this week. So excited to get into it with you, man.
Yeah, let's start with that. I think everybody's kind of at least a little bit familiar with dTAO. Do you want to give a quick, overview of why dynamic TAO is important? We can kind of go back and forth on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think dTAO is going to be one of the highlights of the year, to be honest. Among other subnets hitting mainnet, it really, puts the power back into the hands of the token holders, so to speak. I don't know if you want to give a TLDR on dTAO, but
Sure.
how it's important is really it just distributes the power back into the hands of the people, so to speak, decentralizing the token in that way. I don't know, 563, if you want to give a better explanation.
Yeah, sure. I can give a quick breakdown of what goes on now. So right now, how each of the subnets are assigned weights. So basically how they get to decide which subnets deserve the TAO emissions that are coming out every block. It's all determined by the largest 64 validators by stake, or by nomination. So it's basically a DAO, right? There's these 64 members of a DAO that get voted in. They get to decide who gets these TAO emissions over time. So it's an okay system and it's working just fine right now, but it's really tough for all of these validators to keep up with all the comings and goings of the subnets, who's performing well, who's not performing well. And what we really need to move towards is a market-driven approach, and that's what dynamic TAO gives you. So with dynamic TAO, it's up to the token holders to decide. So there will be subnet tokens that are each paired with TAO. And if you're a token holder of TAO, you can go and say there's this new subnet you really think is going to blow up, think it's going to be great. So you can go in, buy some of their subnet tokens, and over time, if that subnet performs really well and other people start to notice that they're doing well, that subnet token against TAO will appreciate in value and you will have earned some TAO. Of course, that can work the other way around. If subnet underperforms, they can be deregistered. And if you invested your TAO into that subnet, you can lose your TAO. But it makes it all market driven. It aligns incentives of the token holders with the subnets. So I'm really excited about dynamic TAO. Like you said, I think it's going to be the highlight of the year. And the testnet just went live. So it's being incentivized. It's all of like the major players that you would think. It's miners, validators, and owners just trying to play around with the mechanisms and see what they can do. So at the end of each of the rounds, real TAO is being distributed to the winners of the subnet or of the testnet. So say you win a bunch of this testnet TAO, you win real TAO in the end. So they're really incentivized to try to break it, try to game it. And that's what we see happening. There's different strategies going on with scattergun registrations of all of the subnets, of meving, trying to mev the different rates versus emissions, trying to deregister and re-register subnets, see what can work, what breaks it. And there's just been a lot of lessons learned, a lot of good discussion going on. So yeah, it's been really exciting. They are finishing up the first round. And I think they're setting up to run another round of the incentivization, I think next week. So really excited. But yeah, I think there's a lot more going on with the subnets as well. So I think we should go start talking about that whenever you're ready.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Did you want to pull up the screen?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Let's do it.
Cool.
So let me know when that's coming up.
Yeah, there we go. Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. So just to kind of hit on some points from the dTAO discussion, being in testnet, it's really positive to see, the gaming of the incentive mechanisms, because ultimately that's what we kind of want, right?
Right.
We want people to break the system a little bit, prod it, manipulate it so that when we move forward in in the advancements of Bittensor in general. Those issues are all worked out of the system. So I think dTAO, Fish from dTAO and Sei were victory lapping in the Discord a little bit about how much incentivized TAO that they were earning from the testnet. So we'll be interested to see next week how much TAO rewards will be up for grabs and see if those guys can kind of maintain their edge. If not, then they'll continue to be the ones primarily driving the testing of the dTAO mechanism there.
Yeah, it's basically just like a live penetration test. So it's great to see people trying to break the game because that's how you learn. And that's what this testnet's all about. But I think it's like 250 TAO rewards. So it's pretty penny.
Yeah. Not a trivial amount, especially for just hacking around on the CLI.
Exactly. You're playing around. I mean, you're not risking anything really. It's just you're playing around with testnet tokens. So it's cool to see these guys out compete each other. And we'll all benefit in the end because we get stronger mechanisms. But yeah, let's jump in. I think some of the big news from this week, Macrocosmos, they run a few different subnets. This one was, their news specifically here was for subnet 9, their pre-training subnet. They released a research paper, and it kind of really is a masterclass on how to run a subnet and how to design your incentive mechanism. So is it really, definitely recommend checking out the research paper. This was their announcement. They have this new dashboard here that I thought that was really cool to go through different competitions they have. So if you aren't too familiar, subnet 9 is focused on pre-training LLMs. So folks will go off, pre-train an LLM, and then once they're done, they'll upload it and they'll try to beat the current benchmarks of the other people that have uploaded LLMs. And they have different competitions actually running simultaneously, which is pretty cool. So they'll have a 7 billion parameter, they have 700 million and 3 billion parameter competitions going on at once. You can see who's in the lead right now. You can see how much they're winning and how much their total weight is. That's how much of the TAO, of their proportion of TAO they're winning. And you can just see just the progress over time, leading to lower and lower losses, getting better and better. It's great to see. And nice. You can check all the different competitions. They have this new one, which is pretty cool, 7B star, which is 7 billion parameters, but they're also going into basically trying to game their incentive mechanism. So before, they have to have some kind of hurdle. So the next best LLM has to beat the best one by a certain percentage, right? And they're trying to play around with what that percentage is optimally at. So instead of 0.5% better, this one only has to be 0.1% better, that type of thing. So they're trying different things. Love to see the innovation. And it's a really cool dashboard here. So go check that out.
Yeah, I really like the emphasis in the migration and towards building nicer dashboards and nicer websites. I think that's really positive for everyone else in the community to kind of actually see what's being built in the ecosystem. Whereas before, it was a lot more difficult to see how different products were being added, how this intelligence was being used, or the progress that was being kind of made in each of these subnets. So,
right.
There's subnet 19 also, we'll get into that a little bit later, but they underwent a really big rebrand, and the design is really sleek and the UX is really nice. And I think that, these types of updates are really important to get people who are, not as technical really involved and getting their hands dirty and using some of this stuff. So keep going, subnet operators, keep pushing out really pretty stuff for us to use. We love it. And it's really fun to kind of play around with it and click around.
Well, I think the subnet owners are beginning to realize that with dTAO coming online, they kind of have to advertise more, right? It's not enough that they can show off in the Discord. They have to have a nice, sleek new site. They have to show to TAO holders what they're building, because it's the TAO holders that decide their stake going forward. So I think there's going to be a lot more front ends that are very user-friendly and very obvious what they're pushing towards. So I'm excited about that.
And more interns too.
Yeah, definitely
more Twitter interns.
Need more Twitter interns. Who's a
Macrocosmos? Yeah, it's intern? It's amazing because, I mean, we've got a Twitter list, right? And we scroll that list, and then I go and manually scroll the Discord and look at all the pinned messages. And it's really easy for me to see, who's building stuff and who's shipping when they create a really nice and succinct update, right?
Exactly.
Whereas before, it's like so a couple of subnets are doing this where it's like, hey, like we attach the GitHub repo, we just added XYZ feature or this functionality. It's really easy to miss that. But when you've got big, bold headers where it's, week 5 update, here's everything that we did, here's all the conversation we had, it's really easy for someone like me to kind of go in there, grab the updates, throw it into the newsletter, tweet the tweet, and then everybody else in the ecosystem, gets pinged with that first, as opposed to the other subnet community members who may not be doing that. So yeah, interns are valuable. Study the poly market intern. I think the Canto intern had like a 72-hour claim to fame as well. But yeah, we'll definitely be seeing more advertising efforts. And I think something that Masari does really well too, and a lot of research projects do this, or businesses, I should say. And Dune does this well, where they make their graphics really easy to snip and post on Twitter and on other forums, and you immediately associate that data with the company or the analyst that created it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's opportunity for projects like this too, where put a watermark behind that graph, and whenever somebody goes to snip it and put it on X and write a thread about it, it's always there. So I think that's a really positive initiative for a lot of these subnet owners to do is, lean more into your brand, lean more into your intern and your comms and your style, and, get people interested.
Absolutely. So great updates from Macrocosmos. Definitely read their white paper and check out the new leaderboard. Very cool. Totally. Next up, we had Tatsu, who released their new white paper. New docs as well. Very cool work they're doing on human identity verification. So go check it out. Anything you wanted to add on that one?
Not necessarily. I mean, the OTF did issue kind of a comment on Tatsu about kind of what they're looking for in regards to how they assess a subnet, and how they make the decision to allocate weights towards those subnets. So not quite sure the exact details behind that, but the Open Tensor Foundation is really coming out and looking specifically to advance a lot of initiatives by an objective benchmark. And I think that was something that Tatsu was missing in this initial launch, that they have since recognized the feedback, and they're going to go back to the team and kind of figure out how they objectively benchmark their products or their discoveries against something that is more widely recognized. So ultimately, like, good conversation going on with that, and I think that that's a really positive metric and evaluation that is coming to light, and will eventually be open sourced and distributed for other subnet owners to kind of mimic off of.
Yeah, I guess it shows how high the bar is, really. So these guys are well funded, and they have interesting idea they want to bring to light. But there's just so many subnets that are producing really good quality work that it can be tough. And I think the competition's great. So best of luck to this team. Hope they innovate, and I think they're iterating over time too. So excited for that.
Totally.
Next up, we have MASA. They launched their Bittensor subnet on mainnet. Very excited for these guys. They've been building for a long time. They're over on subnet 42 now. So what these guys are doing is they're working on data collection, aggregation, and access to that data. They've already, their data set's over 20 billion data points. Pretty cool. They have Twitter, Discord, Telegram, web pages, podcasts, and YouTube videos on their data set. And yeah, it's pretty interesting because they have this new MASA TAO dual token incentives. So it's kind of novel, right? You think of the TAO or the Bittensor architecture, which has TAO as the native token incentive, right, for all the miners, validators, and owners out there to produce great work. but now they're throwing in a new token. I wonder how this affects markets going forward. Are other projects going to release tokens? Are established projects with tokens likely to hop on Bittensor because it has this built-in ecosystem of incentive and miners that can push projects forward? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a question that a lot of people have. Is it in the subnet's best interest to release a token, right? A lot of investors are also kind of trying to figure them out themselves.
Right.
How do we actually allocate to the dTAO token or the subnet, ecosystem or protocol token, right? That may be an ERC20 or an
equity
SPL
or
or whatever, or equity even. Yeah. But in MASA's case, it's really interesting because they're backed by DCG. They're partnering with Foundry. For those of you who don't know, Foundry has a really strong presence in the Bittensor ecosystem, which just kind of goes to show that this is getting, institutional adoption in some capacity, which is really interesting, and really excited to kind of see projects like this get funded by those larger institutions who recognize the value of Bittensor. Bittensor is kind of reaching an inflection point where it was a very grassroots initiative to begin with, right? And that's what got it off the ground. But it's kind of transitioning more into now where these large institutions, large AI research groups are beginning to recognize the value that Bittensor adds, not only to crypto, but obviously the AI discoveries and AI industry at large. So going to be interesting to see kind of who else gets TAO pilled in these next 12 months.
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of opens up some new questions, like what are these tokens used for, right? If TAO is the commodity token, it's the reward token, it's the incentivization token, what is MASA used for? Is it also like just an additional incentive? Is it used eventually to be like a rev share kind of deal where the MASA token holders are like the subnet owners and they have a stake in that 18% value that their subnet can earn? It's an interesting idea. Like, does this DAO end up becoming that subnet owner instead of some kind of company?
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, I'm sure we'll get a lot of experimentation with additional subnets coming to mainnet soon too, with dual token incentives. So I guess we'll find out.
It remains to be seen. Yeah, but MASA, pretty cool. And they have this new API that folks can link into. So for like real-time updates. So if they're waiting on some kind of tweet to go out to trigger some bot, you can just plug directly into the MASA API because it's this giant data set. Very cool. Go check them out. The other project that launched on mainnet this week is De-val. They launched on subnet 15, and they're focusing on improving LLM benchmarking. So pretty cool because most of the benchmarks out there are just open data sets and they're at risk of being gamed, right? If you know the answers to the test, you can study the answers to the test, and that's not always the best way to do it. So they're focusing really on detecting hallucinations, correcting misattributions, and assessing summary completeness. And they have a very nice website, which you should go check out, which I think will be a common theme going forward, as we said.
Yep.
Pretty cool. And they have what's that?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say they have an API for LLMs to use. You can just plug right in, get your benchmarking directly from Bittensor. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did see a meme on Twitter. Some mid-curver wrote a whole tweet thread about how great the Aave rebrand was, or the Aave website. And I think Noah from Parachain was just quote tweeted it, was like, this looks like every other of crypto website. So I don't know, maybe I was wrong in my evaluation and assessment of creating pretty websites and in the previous
commentary. Pretty websites, man. Not everyone's going to hop into the Discord to learn about a project. They're going to go to a website and be like, oh, that's nice. Let me see what this is all about. And if there's 45 different really cool websites for the 45 different subnets, I think that's just a wide net to cast.
True.
And well, obviously in products to use behind them. So I know not everyone out there is using LLM benchmarks every day, but it's a valuable tool for AI developers to use. So pretty
Agreed.
cool. Best of luck to De-val. They just launched, so hopefully get some stake. Next up, BitAds is planning on launching next week. These guys have gone back and forth on revamping their incentive mechanism. It seems like they're going to be working directly with Shopify integrations. So pretty cool. If folks don't know what BitAds does, they're trying to have an actual way to understand which ads work, which ads don't, which ads lead to conversions in a gamified kind of way. So you can have different miners suggesting ads, and if different miners are better at ad placement and different at making ads, they get more weight. It's a pretty cool use of the incentive mechanism. And yeah, they're going up live next week, it looks like. I know they're trying to get on on the novelty search to talk with cons, but we'll see how that goes. I know everybody's pretty focused on dTAO right now.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
It's valuable real estate getting on novelty search.
It really is. Yeah, especially with 45 different subnets trying to jockey for position, not counting all the ones in testnet right now. That's what we're for. 404 is a subnet 17. These guys are focused on building a whole giant data set of 3D generated objects. Pretty cool. If you guys have ever worked in game development or are interested in metaverse, 3D objects are usually you have to go to a store and go and buy them on centralized places, but this subnet incentivizes miners to go out, take a prompt, and generate those 3D objects to basically have this giant data set of 3D objects that you can go out and sell. They've already gotten up to 2 million unique 3D objects, which makes them the second largest unique data set in the world, and that was only after a few weeks. Very, very crazy. And their goal is to hit 10 million unique objects, maybe the largest data set in the world. And that would be really a feather in the cap of Bittensor and them really.
Yeah, you can actually go use the Discord bot too. It's in production. It's in their Discord, and I think it's in the TAO community Discord as well. There might be a direct integration from their Discord to the TAO community Discord.
Oh, cool. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go try it out. I've seen some of the images they've created. I probably should have had some of them prompted up, but very cool work that 404 is doing. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, 3D images, pretty sweet. MF Doom.
I'm looking. They built this spinning rock. It's like an asteroid.
Oh yeah.
Very cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of cool stuff, man. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Nice. Congrats on the launch, y'all.
Yeah, congrats on the update. So Vector Chat, these guys are the chunking subnet 40. They just released a new framework for validators. And so validators can now submit their own documents for chunking. So you can go and plug into their API, get your own chunking done over on the chunking subnet. And basically it's trying to make LLMs more efficient. Cool. Another example actually of a project that existed before Bittensor and has realized that plugging into the network is beneficial and that it can just supercharge their growth. So really, really cool to see. Validators can also start monetizing their bandwidth too. So, love to see that.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation, right?
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
The Bittensor capitulation. All of these AI projects realizing that they're not getting any demand and that their products are so siloed, and their access to an abundance of developers in this amazing developer ecosystem is simply non-existent because they're just throwing incentives at people to then go and be mercenary and farm those incentives. Whereas Bittensor, on the contrary, is completely grassroots. Everyone's there for the culture and developing towards the same mission and goals. So I think that there's going to be a time where a lot of these AI projects, that have really good products, start to capitulate and say, hey, well, we're better off just joining the Bittensor community as a subnet And as Joseph Jacks from OSS Capital always says, everything is a subnet of Bittensor. So we'll see. But really looking forward to kind of seeing that trend develop here in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's only a matter of time before everything gets absorbed. Okay, next up, wanted to do a quick shout out to Taoshi. Apparently, they did some digging and they're going to do their own bot. So if folks don't know, Taoshi runs subnet 8, which is a time series prediction subnet. Basically, they have a bunch of miners and they're out there trying to predict stock market movements and Bitcoin price movements. Really cool initiative. It's basically like this giant prop shop that's all incentivized by TAO, and the output of which is just the best signals you can imagine, right? It's just all these traders trying to outcompete each other, and you get the best signals. There have been a few bots that have just plugged into their signals already. One of the big ones was Dale over on Bybit, but folks didn't like how schizo it was. It was making trades super often, and people didn't like that. So apparently Taoshi's working on their own in-house bot. So that'll be cool to see. Everything that they've been producing has been top notch. Got to talk a little bit more about their other networks too later on when there's updates on that too. But yeah, very excited for Taoshi.
Yeah, Taoshi's arguably the most popular subnet, I'd say, from everyone who I've talked to. Yeah, from everyone that I've talked to who's not necessarily Bittensor native, they always talk about subnet 8, like Taoshi.
That's funny because I think the people coming from the crypto side are like, all right, how can we use this for crypto applications? So obviously a trading bot makes complete sense in that case. But it's interesting they don't have the highest weights. Do you think that'll change with dTAO?
Maybe. I think if there's an educational and information asymmetry there, though, right, with the greater crypto community and Bittensor. So having the greater crypto community understand how to buy the dTAO token is going to be a barrier of entry, which is why which is what prompted this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Taoshi, is really cool. They do a lot of stuff with Forex as well, just Forex trading signals.
That's right.
And the bots are really, profitable as well. I mean, study like Banana Bot, Unibot had a really great run up, BonkBot, etc. Like a lot of people use these bots. Yeah, and they have crazy PMF. So I think that's a way to get the crypto native crowd really interested in Taoshi is through a Telegram bot.
That's a great point.
So I guess we'll see. I mean, the crypto side of things, the crypto users, you kind of have to build these products for them if you want to onboard them, obviously. And right now, Bittensor is really kind of experiencing a lot of friction in that regard, I think. But this is an effort towards bridging that gap.
Yeah, it's very much so on the AI academic side, right? It's not too much focused on the crypto native side, but it's cool that different subnets can have different, can appeal to different audiences.
Yep.
So I'm excited for that for sure. Keep up the good work, guys. But moving on to a subnet that actually does have the most weight, I think, is subnet 19. These guys, they just launched their new website, extremely clean and a little bit of a rebrand, right? So now they would used to go to the Corcel interface. Now we have 19 AI, very clean. So if folks don't know about subnet 19, it's the main inferencing subnet on Bittensor right now. They do decentralized text inference. They do decentralized text to image as well. But if we go into start playing with 19, their chatbot's really, really good. So now they have some state-of-the-art models. They have Llama 3.1. They have the 7 billion parameter and the 8 billion parameter. So if you want really fast results, you can plug into the 8 billion. That's I think it's mostly for API users. If you want like an API to plug into, you can do 8 billion, but I've been using the 7 billion for the most part. And really, this can just replace ChatGPT for a lot of people. You can attach documents. You can even start playing with the temperature. You can start playing with the system prompt. Say you want this guy to act like John Stamos or like your therapist. You can just type in a system prompt here. And it's free. You don't have to pay for therapy, which is perfect. Really, really clean. Love it. And then if we go back to home, you can start playing with the images. They have some really state-of-the-art models. Flux was a big one that people really wanted. They also have Proteus and Dream Shaper and some really, really clean interfaces here. So go play around with them. It's free. So go for it. I'm just excited for this one, really.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of these types of products being, shipped. Akash has Akash Chat. You've got Venice AI.
Yep.
A few other. I think Manifold is doing something specifically with search functionality similar to Perplexity. But yeah, I'm really excited for this type of stuff, especially in a decentralized fashion. They will eventually have to start charging people just because the inferencing bill is going to get crazy expensive.
That's what TAO is for, right, man? So if
that's true,
that stream of TAO can offset the operating costs, it can be free in the end, right? So imagine you have this front end like Corcel, for example, because they were leaders for this for a while. They can basically charge folks to access their APIs, access their flow of information from their validator that they get because they're staking TAO, right? So if they stake 10% of the TAO on that subnet, they get 10% of the bandwidth of the miners. So it kind of incentivizes them to accumulate more and more TAO to stake to their miner or to their validator, because they can draw more from the miners. So meaning that's like the draw of, or the value prop of TAO over time is it gains you access to those miners, that miner's bandwidth. So I'm really excited about it. And they even have these cool new leaderboards. So going along with what we had with Macrocosmos with their subnet 9, you can also see some cool new leaderboards for the best performing miners on the network and how fast they're going, really. So love to see it. Love to see the distribution charts, and
interesting.
Really cool roadmap as well. So you can go check out what they're building next. They're really trying to upgrade the Bittensor ecosystem as a whole. So making tools that other subnets can use. And I think validators really like that. So I think anytime that a subnet is working on a tool that other subnets can use, they always get more stake. So I think it's a little bit of a gamification, but it's a smart gamification, right? It's a rising tide lifting all boats. So I think that does deserve some extra stake because they're working on, problems that all the subnets have.
Yep.
So building tools for that is very beneficial.
Agree. Composability across subnets is going to be one of the cooler things as well, because
absolutely
there's just so much being built from varying use cases, and
man,
getting creative in the integrations across is going to unlock a lot of value and rise.
Yeah. So you can even think of it like, so you have the pre-training subnet over on subnet 9. They could go use the where was it, De-val's benchmarks to benchmark their subnet. And then once they're pre-trained, they can go to the fine-tuning subnet to be fine-tuned. And once the fine-tuning subnet can pump in synthetic data from another subnet, and then you get these fine-tuned models that can be deployed over on subnet 19. So you can go inference those fine-tuned models. So they all kind of play together, and we're only at the beginning stage of seeing those interactions with these subnets. So as you can tell, I'm very excited about it. But I think those are all the updates that we had from the subnet side. Was there any other topics you want to discuss? Any high-level things that people should be looking out for?
I don't know. I'd just say keep a lookout on TAO Times. That's the new Bittensor focused newsletter that we just released at Onchain Outpost. We received a lot of positive feedback with a tweet that I sent last week that just wrapped up all of what we just discussed today, combined with some more granular details contained in each subnet. So if you're interested in getting much deeper into the subnet specifically on a weekly cadence, go check that out. We'll drop the subscription link in the show notes. And yeah, I don't have anything else for this week. It was really great getting you on Block 563 and chatting.
Thanks, man.
You can literally cut that completely. That was botched.
No, you're good, man. No worries. This is live. No, it's fine. I think This is a lot of fun. I think we want some feedback. These early episodes, we're going to iterate, see what people like, what they don't like. This TAO Talk is supposed to be more of the conversation of what we think about all the news. And then, yeah, like you said, TAO Times is the newsletter that accompanies this. That'll go into all the details for each of the subnets, what they have updates for that week. But yeah, this will be like more of a discussion back and forth, what we think about it. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Like we said, be sure to subscribe to the TAO Times newsletter if you want an even deeper dive into this week's updates. And if you want to join the conversation, come ape into the Blockmates Discord. We're in there, we're chatting. And yeah, besides that, we'll see you all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. See you guys.